All right, everyone. Well, I am so excited for our show today. You don't even know, because we are here with my personal sales coach, who I call by the nickname of Yoda, Brian Kavicky. And you guys, if you have not met Brian, Brian is the VP and the owner of Lushin, which is a Sandler franchise based out of Indianapolis. And Brian's reputation really doesn't need an introduction by any means. But to keep it short, he's worked with some of the largest companies and helped them scale and massively explode their growth. And so I remember when I came to work with Brian, it was all about getting sales strategies. And really, he earns the nickname Yoda because he just asks these questions that get you to reconsider your life and grow your business for the better. So welcome, Brian. What did I miss? Please tell the audience about you and how awesome you are.
I think you covered it. I thought it was funny that you said reconsider your life. That was a funny little comment there.
You know, I think our coaching sessions, I expected them to be all the mushy sales stuff, and they feel more like my therapy sessions in a good way, because amazing things come from them, and it's great.
Good.
I love it. Well, we are diving in all the things in 2021. And as you know, and as clients like me have come crying to your office, not me literally yet, but it could happen, freaking out about how in the world we are all going to adjust. And so really one of the biggest topics that I want to dive into with you today is how to address everything that's happened in the past year. You know, so many people have come, they've been worried, they've been afraid. Many have come up on the other side. But as we look to the year end in 2021, tell us about what clients have come to you with your experience and how you've helped them move through this.
I think what's different about this year is that it was newer things that we didn't have exposure to. Like, and we have a couple things going on. It's a political race year, so everything that happens in a year where there's a political race is about the election. So things were blowing up, things were made to be a bigger deal. This isn't our first pandemic. We have a pandemic about every 3 to 4 years, but this one was a bigger deal. These weren't our first riots, but they were combined with the pandemic. And I'm at home now, and I'm not talking to people, and I'm getting a lot of information that I didn't have. So the things that happen, whether it affected you or not, tend to fill your mind with this belief of this is affecting things. But the reality is there's company who have all-time high gross. There's people who are accomplishing things they've never accomplished before. We have an economy that's recovered faster than any economy has ever recovered before. We had a lot of things go good that tend to be overshadowed by what went wrong. And so I guess my question for everybody to think about is, if you take yourself out of the pandemic and you take yourself about what some of the commentary is, what actually changed, especially with growth and sales of your business, did it actually change? Or was it just an adjustment to a different environment? But my experience is most things didn't change. We still have the same basic things of, I have to reach out to people. I have to get conversations with people. I have to figure out if those prospects are good for our company. I have to figure out how to solve their problems. Will we work together or not? I have to close that business. I have to handle that business. From a foundational principle, nothing's really changed.
I love that. And it reminds me too, even just today in one of our trainings we were going through, and one thing that you've taught me is just all learning about your BAT. And if you're listening and you don't know what your BAT is, it's simply, it stands for your behavior, your attitude, and your technique. And not only does it apply in the context of selling, but it applies in really every other area of your life. And so, Brian, I'd love to hear from you. Which of those areas do you feel like most business owners have really lacked in 2020, or that they really could improve moving forward to improve their batting average?
If we look to what we train in that area, is that attitude is not just mindset, but attitude is controlled by your behaviors. if you look back at the March, April timeframe when everything was kind of falling down and the changes were amplified at that point, the people that did well behaved their way out of the situation versus taking on a mindset of the sky is falling, I'm going to die. They actually modified what they did. They acted differently. They acted more. They worked harder because effectiveness wasn't as high. So to combat effectiveness, you just do more, working later, putting more effort in than they had before. It wasn't easy, but people did well when they changed their behaviors. So because behavior actually drives mindset, that's where I've seen the separation between the excellent and the good is that piece.
And what do you think the mental shift that needs to continue to happen so that entrepreneurs, business owners can stay in that mindset? What do you think that behavior looks like to drive that attitude? Or really, what are maybe some actionable steps that the people that were able to come out of the whole sky is falling perception to addressing that and scaling? What are maybe some of those behaviors or attitudes that they took on to accomplish that? And what are some of the important behaviors or attitudes that really need to carry over to 2021?
Here's kind of the difference. The people that did the right stuff and behaved their way out of it, they knew what to do and they did it. The people that struggled in that area either knew what to do and decided not to do it, or they didn't know what to do and they didn't go and find out. And because, you know, if we look back to March and April and we wanted to have an open webinar that was free where we just helped people through what was going on in the pandemic, we might have 150, 200 people, where average we might have run 30 before. So people were in the, I need information, I got to get information. And even though we gave them, this is what you got to do, a lot of people didn't do it, even though the answers were there and available, because it was out of their comfort zone. It didn't feel right. It was counterintuitive, but they took that information and didn't use it. But there is that group that they have a gut feel of what things are supposed to look like, and they know what should be happening, but they don't know the hows, and they don't even seek it out. They just go, well, why isn't this happening? And what's not happening? And they just stay in that place versus making that stuff happen. Does that make sense?
It does. And now I'm wondering, what do you think keeps them stuck there? I mean, I remember coming to your office and going through the whole experience of, I was one of those people that was thinking, the sky is falling. What do I do? And so what differentiates somebody? Why do you think some people stay in that position outside of maybe comfort zone? What keeps them there?
Well, comfort zone is what it is. I mean, as human beings, we're wired for comfort. There is you know, if you're in your cave and the cave's warm and you're not getting rained on and you're not getting sunburned and your family's all there, to go out into the world where the animals are going to attack you and your food's going to get stolen and all those things, you're wired to stay in your cave. So we are wired to return to our comfort zone. And so people that decide not to or won't, they decide their comfort is more important than what they want or they want to accomplish, and they don't stretch that comfort zone to get it. So it's really that the people that do well are the ones that look to themselves and go, I'm comfortable now, but is comfort my primary goal, or do I want something more? And that means I'm going to have to get out of my comfort zone in order to get what I want, because I can't stay here because I know what that brings me.
That's a great point. That's a really good point. And kind of along with that whole thought process, do you think one of the questions that I was going to ask for is the real reason that businesses and companies are failing right now? Do you think that's one of them, or is that just a piece of the puzzle? What are the real reasons that so many companies are actually struggling right now?
There's a book written, it seems like a lot of years ago, that, you know, good to great, and that good is the enemy of great. And I think what a lot of people went through is things were going good, business was growing by itself, the economy was rolling. You can not look to fix a lot of things if it's sort of not broken. What I think a lot of people realized is when stress tends to return you to your natural state. When you're under stress, the real stuff tends to come out. And I think what a lot of business leaders realized is that stress exposed where things really were, because the economy, the business environment was not masking that anymore, and nothing really changed. If their sales teams were not good at getting business before, and they were doing a great job taking orders, when the orders stopped coming in, those people that weren't good before still weren't good at it. And so now nothing happened. So that removal of that piece of easy to get business showed up on our doorstep. We consistently keep and retain and get new clients because they come to us. That's what really exposed the problem.
That's a great point. It's almost like a magnifying glass. You nailed it. I mean, you're basically just going through and people are exposed. That was a great word. They're kind of just left with the foundation. And if the foundation wasn't solid to begin with, it's no wonder that when that's all that's left, that it's not enough.
Yeah. The people with the foundations were the ones that outperformed everybody in this period, because all they had to do was make a minor adjustment. For an example, I remember people freaking out because of Zoom. Holy cow, how do I get on Zoom? I still get the question today, how do we sell in this virtual environment? Well, we've been selling and delivering information and using this medium for 6 years. So when we decided, okay, let's change the way that we train, let's change the way that we meet with our customers, we basically made that entire transition in an hour. It was a non-event. It was like, oh, okay, well, we'll just do it this way. And that's what the foundation does, is that the transition is very easy of, this can't affect me because we're already ready for it, versus, holy cow, we have to reinvent ourselves. There are businesses that couldn't adjust. I think if you look at the restaurant, the entertainment, the hospitality, the event business, that business, there's not a ton that they could have done. But even in the event and convention space, you saw most of the bigger stuff switch to virtual. And, it's not the same experience, but at least it's some experience. And so they just said, okay, let's switch, versus going, oh, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah. And what would you say to the companies? I think there's still plenty of companies out there that they've done one of two things. They've kind of cut 2020 off, and they're just kind of thinking, well, we'll just wait till next year, when they may not recognize, well, things weren't good this year. What's 2021 going to bring that's so different? And then there's still other companies that are kind of like in a ship that's sinking. They're just trying to plug up every hole so that they can fix it. And the boat's still kind of going down. It's just maybe going down slower. So those companies that are still struggling and still haven't laid that foundation, or maybe taken precaution and other steps to move forward, what would you tell them on how they can adapt right now? And is it too late?
One piece of advice I give is, stop trying to figure it out. If you had the answers, you'd already be doing it. I think the people that are looking at erasing 2020 and going, well, I'll just wait for 20 to 21 to change. Well, in October of 2019, were you thinking, oh man, I wonder what 2020 is going to look like? This is going to be a gravy year, and look what happened to you. The reality is, you don't know what's going to happen, and are you prepared for that? Versus, next year will be better. COVID will go away. It'll be fine. We'll be past the election. Everything will just return to normal. I don't know that any of us could say it's going to return to normal, because we didn't know this was going to happen this year.
Yeah, the definition is just, I feel like it's over inundated hearing people say new normal, but I would argue that phrase I don't know that it's necessarily a new normal as much as it is the world's changed.
The world's changed, but that's all you can deal with is what am I doing now? You can't adjust for what could be or what might be, or to think that today's normal is going to be the way that we are all the time. That's like saying in World War II, well, I guess we'll be at war for the rest of our lives. You don't know that.
And so what are some of the questions that companies can be asking right now internally as they adjust so that they can adjust right now, that they should be considering internally? What are maybe some of the issues or the things that they can really try to dive into so that they can get back to growing?
First question that they can ask is, what did 2020 do to benefit me and my business? What are the positives that came out of this? And how do I exploit those positives to continue to take advantage of them? The next question would be, what did I learn? What was exposed by, like you described, that magnifying glass on my business that can't exist if I'm to face something else that's going to put stress on my business? So where are those threats? What are those weaknesses? What are those things that I need to shore up so that this never affects me like it affected me at this point in time? And the other thing is to take a real honest look is what was present in 2018 and 2019 that was frustrating, but you didn't do anything about it, that you still have as a problem today. And you say, you know what, this problem still exists. I've returned to my state of normal and I don't like the outcome it gets me. And then go out and find people who have answers and direction for you that know what to do so that you're not effective. Stop trying to figure it out yourself. That's like going to, when you like have some symptom of a disease and you like Google it and that one website comes up, WebMD.
WebMD.
Yeah, you're going to die is basically what all things you look up in Google. So stop trying to figure it out yourself. Just go to the doctor and say, doctor, what's the best way to fix this? Instead of trying to go down the figure it out yourself path.
I love that. And it seems so obvious, but for whatever reason, and I'm wondering what you think gets in the way, it always seems like the last resort that business owners want to take is the last thing. It's almost as if failing or going out of business or the other alternatives seem somewhat pale in comparison than actually looking at the data and the facts and taking a honest inventory of their company, let alone asking somebody and admitting that vulnerability to ask them to help. I mean, do you see that with working with clients, or is that just maybe yes or no? What do you think?
I actually see two things. I see really strong companies beating themselves up by looking at the wrong scoreboard instead of what is really there, which is what are the data points that actually show what is going on, and then the positives that are happening, because they're so focused on the negatives. I think the reason that people don't kind of get out of their own way is this sense of pride. You started the business, you came up with the product or service, you found the niche, you found the initial business, you made things work, you grew beyond your expectations. But what got you to that point isn't what gets you to the next point. And you had what it took to get to where you are today, but do you have what it takes to get to where you want to go? That's a pride thing. It's the intellectual humility to say, I don't know everything about everything, and I don't know what I don't know, versus pretending you do. What's the shield of armor that protects you and keeps your people thinking it's going to be okay and we're going to make it through this and everything's going to be fine. But that same shield of armor, you got to take off and say, okay, I've helped my people understand that it's going to be okay. But part of why it's going to be okay is that I'm going to swallow my pride and admit that I need help and get it. Because there's great results from that if you just go, I don't know everything.
What advice would you give maybe to business owners that are on the fence and they're thinking about reaching out and they're a little bit nervous and they just haven't maybe taken that step yet?
I think get over it. Like, it's not as bad, regardless of whether it's sales advice or business advice or personal coaching or doing something different or taking on a new project. It all comes from the same place of just dip your toe in the water. You can decide once your toe is in the water that the water is too cold and you're not diving in. But if you don't dip your toe in the water, you don't know the difference. So at least go down the exploratory path and engage versus just sitting on the sidelines going, I wonder if I should. You can't answer that question without engaging.
Yeah,
Go exploring.
I like that. Sounds so easy. This is always what I think every time we meet. You make it sound so easy, but
It's not easy. It's simple. There's a difference between what's simple and what's easy. The simple things are not always the easy things. Somebody can tell you how to hold a golf club and swing a golf club, but that doesn't make it easy. Someone can say, well, this is how you catch fish. You just put a bait on the hook and throw it in the water, but it's not easy to do. There's nuance to simple that it makes it hard.
I love that. That's a great point. The last kind of question that I really want to touch on is, and it's one that I felt so relieved that we talk about this so much in coaching, but also so shocked, but when I would recognize that that was such a big part of it. And that's mindset. And so what I would love to know is, what are some of the mindset shifts that you've seen, and we touched on it briefly, but that you've seen maybe in the way that your company has conducted business and how they've adapted, or within business owners, and maybe other ways that different companies can reframe that and look at some of the negative things that have happened in 2021 and reframe that and change their beliefs so that they can move forward?
I'd like to actually make it one mindset instead of many, because I think the number one problem comes down to not having this mindset. And it's a mindset of scarcity versus abundance. And scarcity shows up in a lot of different ways. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough knowledge. I don't have enough people. I don't have enough technology. There's not enough business out there. There's not as many prospects as I need to grow. There's not enough space in my territory. Like all those things, any aspect of limitation is where a lot of people's mindset, that's where this COVID thing comes from, is there's not enough people answering the phone. There's not enough people working in their offices. It's all this scarcity mindset. And a scarcity mindset eliminates all possibility. Somehow a CEO of a company has the ability to work 4 to 8 hours a week and run an entire billion-dollar company, but we can't get it all done in 40. Somehow people with no arms and no legs can climb some of the highest mountains in the world, but we say, oh, I can't do that. So if we're only looking from the mindset of scarcity of what isn't there, we're never looking at what's the possibility. And there is an abundance. And we all know there's abundance. There's people in the world you haven't met. There's businesses out there that you've never heard of. There's phone numbers out there that you have never dialed before. There is always more and plenty to go around. And that opens up a ton of possibility, because if we think of everything from a scarcity mindset, we tend to hold on to everything and hoard everything as if this is our only shot. And then we're disappointed when it doesn't work out, versus going, you know what, that didn't work out. So let me go find another one. Let me go find another place. Let me go find another person. Let me go find another networking group. There's always another.
That's so good. Oh my goodness. You could just drop the mic right there and we could end the show. And to everybody that's listening, I hope you have been able to at least listen back or take some amazing notes of some of the truth bombs and some of the amazing concepts that Brian has shared. And Brian, is there anything else that the audience should know, or that you would want to leave them with, or any other things, or one last word of encouragement you would want to give to them as they stop listening and continue to resume their day?
There is always going to be an obstacle. There's always going to be something that's in your way. Some of that you can see what's right in front of you and know, if I can just get through this, it'll be better. But what people have realized over time and as they've grown up, that when we fix one obstacle, there's another one that kind of comes up and we go, oh, that's another obstacle that I didn't even know that was there. I would encourage everybody to listen to this is to find people that know what the obstacles to come are and know what's on the horizon and know what's going to present itself later, because those people also know how to clear the obstacles in front of you. It's not just how do I fix now, it's how do I fix next and how do I fix what's after that. Go find those people that have the answers, because they've already done it, they already know, and they're going to give you advice that is actually going to work so that you don't have to worry about, am I ever going to get through this? Somebody out there knows how.
I love that. That's brilliant. And I think we will end on that note, because this is probably going to be one of the most valuable podcasts. So Brian, I can't thank you enough for coming on. And thankfully I've got this transcripted, so I've got the notes to go back through and read through myself and re-listen. But before we end the show, where could listeners find you? Where can they get in touch? Where can we connect with you if somebody wants to reach out?
If somebody wants to reach out, it's pretty simple. It's Brian, Brian, at Lushin.com, Lushin. If you want to do some investigating or you want to do some looking, it's just Lushin.com. We'll get you there, and you can reach out from there if you desire as well.
Awesome. Brian, thank you so much again for coming on, and I'll be bugging you, I'm sure, to bring you back for another episode where, like this one, you just drop all the bombs and I basically get another time with coaching with you. So thank you again for coming on, and we will talk soon.